Most people think they have a spending problem. They don't. They have a sequencing problem. The order in which money leaves your account determines whether you build wealth or just generate the appearance of it, and almost nobody teaches you the order. Curiosity architecture. Here's what's strange. Two people can earn the same salary, live in the same city, drive similar cars, and arrive at 55 in completely different financial universes. One has options, the other has obligations. The difference almost never comes down to income. It comes down to what happened in the 48 hours after each paycheck landed. Most financial advice tells you where to put money. Almost none of it tells you when, and the timing is everything. By the end of this, you'll have a precise sequence for every dollar that hits your account. Not a budget, not a vague savings goal, a specific order of operations that works whether you're making $40,000 a year or $200,000, and the psychological reason why sequence matters more than amount. There's also something I'm going to tell you near the end that most finance creators won't say because it contradicts the advice they've built their entire channel on. Stay with me. Fast authority. I've spent a long time studying not just what wealthy people do with money, but when they do it. And the behavioral pattern is more consistent than any investment strategy. The sequence is the strategy. Section 1. Why your brain is the first problem to solve. Before we talk about where money should go, we need to talk about why it currently disappears. The answer isn't willpower, it isn't discipline, it isn't even awareness, it's architecture. Your brain operates on a principle called present bias, the neurological tendency to value what's available now exponentially more than what's available later. A dollar you can spend today feels worth more than a dollar you'll have in 6 months, even if you intellectually know otherwise. This isn't a character flaw, it's how every human brain is wired, including the ones attached to financially successful people. The difference is that financially successful people build systems that route money before present bias can activate. Think of it like this. If you've ever tried to eat less sugar by relying on willpower at the point of craving, you know how that ends. The people who actually reduce sugar consumption don't rely on willpower at the critical moment. They stop buying it in the first place. The battle is won at the grocery store, not in the kitchen at 10 p.m. Your paycheck is the grocery store. The moment it lands in your checking account, the battle has already begun, and present bias is shopping the same aisle. This is why automation isn't a nice feature. It's the foundation of the entire system. Every step in the sequence I'm about to walk you through should be automated before the next paycheck arrives. Manual transfers require a decision. Decisions require willpower. Willpower depletes. Automation sidesteps the entire chain. The goal isn't to be more disciplined than you currently are. It's to make discipline irrelevant. Section 2. The sequence and why the order is non-negotiable. Here's what I didn't expect to find when I started looking at how people actually build financial stability versus how they think they do. The individual amounts matter far less than most people assume. What matters, almost exclusively, is that the right things happen first. The sequence works like this. The moment a paycheck arrives, the first dollar out the door goes to obligations you've already committed to, minimum payments on every debt you carry. Credit cards, auto loans, student debt, anything with a recurring monthly requirement. This isn't progress, this is maintenance. It's keeping the floor from collapsing so you have something to stand on. Miss these and the downstream consequences, credit damage, late fees, compounding penalties, will cost you far more than the payment itself. Set every one of these on autopay today. Not after this video, today. Automated minimum payments are the foundation the rest of the system sits on. The second dollar goes to what your life actually costs to run. Rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, the non-negotiable operating costs of your existence. Calculate this number precisely, not a rough estimate, the actual figure from actual bank statements across at least 3 months. Call it your baseline. It needs to stay in your checking account, untouched. A framework that works well across most income levels is roughly 50% of after-tax income to these necessities. Some people in high-cost cities find it runs to 60, some in lower-cost areas hold it to 40. What matters is knowing your real number, not a theoretical one. Here's the part most people skip. Your baseline and your emergency fund are completely different things serving completely different purposes. Conflating them is one of the most common structural errors in personal finance. Section 3. The account nobody talks about correctly. Your emergency fund is the most boring financial topic on the internet, and also one of the most consequential decisions you'll make. Here's why people underestimate it. An emergency fund isn't savings, it isn't an investment, it's insurance against making fear-based financial decisions at the worst possible moment. When a car repair lands during a week when groceries are tight and rent is due, the household without liquid reserves doesn't get to choose between good options. It defaults to high-interest debt, panic-selling investments, or skipping payments that damage credit. Each of those choices costs significantly more than the original emergency, and the damage compounds. The household with 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in a separate, accessible account experiences the same event as an inconvenience. The problem is solved, nothing cascades. Here's what most advice gets wrong about where to keep this money. The national average for standard savings accounts is currently under 0.5% annually. High-yield savings accounts at online banks are offering 3 to 4% on the same FDIC-insured deposits. Same protection, no lockup period, 10 times the return. On a $12,000 emergency fund, that's the difference between earning $480 a year and earning $480 for doing nothing differently. The sequence priority: build this account before any meaningful investing begins, not because the return on it is extraordinary, it isn't, but because without it, every investment you make is one emergency away from being sold at the wrong moment. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, separate account, automated monthly contributions until the target is reached, then redirect those contributions forward.
Section 4. The counterintuitive investment priority. This is the thing I said I'd tell you that most finance creators won't. Everyone says, invest immediately, open your 401k, buy index funds, start now. And they're right, eventually. But if you're early in your career or early in your financial reset, there is one investment with a higher expected return than any index fund you'll ever find. And almost nobody talks about it in those terms. It's you. Not in a motivational poster way, in a concrete mathematical way. If a $300 certification course or a $2,000 skills program results in a $15,000 annual salary increase, that's a 5,000% first-year return. No index fund is touching that. And unlike a stock, your skills can't be delisted, can't go to zero, and compound directly into every negotiation, promotion, and opportunity you encounter for the rest of your working life. This doesn't mean ignore retirement accounts, especially if your employer offers a match, because a 50 or 100% instant return on matched contributions is one of the only genuine free money mechanisms available to ordinary earners. Always take the full match. Every dollar of uncaptured employer match is a pay cut you're voluntarily accepting. But after the match, for many people, particularly in the first decade of their career, a deliberate investment in high-income skills will outperform additional retirement contributions in net lifetime wealth, because the compounding effect of a higher earning base runs for 30 or 40 years. Run the math for your own situation. The answer will vary, but don't skip that calculation because someone told you to max out your IRA before asking whether your income has room to grow. Section 5. The wealth gap nobody measures. Here's what the compound interest charts never show you. They compare the person who starts at 22 to the person who starts at 32. They show a gap of several $100,000. The lesson is meant to be start early. The real lesson, the one that goes unspoken, is that consistency beats both timing and amount. Research on long-term investor returns consistently shows the same pattern. The average investor dramatically underperforms the funds they invest in, not because they pick bad funds, because they stop and start. They buy when optimism is high and prices are elevated. They sell when fear peaks and prices are depressed. They miss the rebounds that tend to cluster in the days immediately following the worst market moments. The most valuable financial behavior is also the least exciting one. Automate contributions, leave them alone, and continue regardless of what the headlines say. This isn't passive advice. It's an active decision to not let fear make your financial choices. Those are not the same thing. And here's the income expansion piece that belongs in this conversation. Multiple income streams aren't just a wealth-building strategy, they're a risk management strategy. A single income source means a single point of failure. The goal isn't to build a second job, it's to build something that generates income with decreasing amounts of your time, a skill that can be freelanced, content that can be monetized, an investment that produces cash flow, a small ownership stake in something you already understand. 1 to 5 hours weekly directed towards building a secondary income stream can produce meaningful results within 12 to 24 months. And every dollar from that stream fed back into the earlier steps in this sequence accelerates everything. At the start of this, I said most people have a sequencing problem, not a spending problem. Here's what that means now that you've seen the sequence. The reason money feels like it disappears isn't that you spend too much coffee or skip too many gym sessions. It's that the right things weren't protected first, so everything competed for the same pool of money, and the urgent always beat the important. The sequence changes that. Obligations move automatically. Baseline costs are funded. Emergency buffer grows. Match is captured. Skills are invested in. Everything else gets ordered by impact. The money doesn't disappear, it goes where you told it to go before you had the chance to redirect it. The honest summary. Building financial stability isn't about a single dramatic decision, it's about a sequence that repeats correctly every time a paycheck arrives. Automate obligations, know your baseline, build a genuine emergency buffer in an account that earns real interest, capture every dollar of employer match before anything else, invest in your own income ceiling early, keep contributions running through market volatility, add income streams that gradually reduce your dependence on any single one. Do this consistently for 10 years, and the results will look to outside observers like luck. They aren't. They're arithmetic. The identity close. The fact that you watched this through the section that told you something different than what you expected, that's a tell. People who tune out when advice challenges their current approach don't build different outcomes. People who stay, think, and adjust do. You're the kind of person who adjusts. That's the only variable that actually matters. If you want the next layer, specifically how to structure the investment sequence between a 401k, a Roth IRA, an HSA, and a taxable brokerage account based on your tax situation, the next video breaks that down precisely with the 2026 contribution limits and the strategic order that minimizes your lifetime tax bill.